everybody. Welcome to another episode of Rolling with Emma. Today, we are going to talk about oxygen and oxygen therapy because my guide, Eric, always talks about the importance of breathing correctly and the importance of having a good oxygen level within our bodies in order to have a balanced energy level and to really have a healthy and vital earth vehicle is the way that he calls it. He always shows it to me like we're driving in our car. So this vehicle needs to be fit, needs to be vital, and it needs to be fed with the right amount of oxygen and also the right amount of energy. And so in regards to oxygen, oxygen is a way to transport that chi or that prana or whatever they may call it, that subtle light energy into our body and into our cells, but also to feed our soul energy. And so today I invited Bryan Johnson. Bryan, welcome to the show.
Hey there, Emma. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing very good.
You getting excited? You're going to be a father soon?
Yeah, getting very excited. We're expecting our first baby here in the next, well, I guess from today, about 3 weeks.
Oh,
3 weeks is the
wow.
due date, but we'll see when he's going to come in. So, yeah, we're thinking he might be a little early, but everyone says your first one's late. So, I guess it's all part of surrendering to what and when he wants to come in.
Whenever he's ready, he's gonna let you guys know, that's for sure.
Yeah, and then it's ready or not.
Well, it's gonna be a life-changing experience for you, but I think for both of you, it's gonna get you to another spiritual level of understanding and unconditional love. So either way, it's gonna be beautiful, and congratulations to both of you.
Thank you very much, Emma. I appreciate that.
So we've had a few readings together where we had some interesting conversations with Siddhartha, or some people will call him Buddha. We had Edgar Casey. I don't remember who else we had to stop by.
Edgar Casey. We had Hippocrates, who's like considered the father of Western medicine. Gosh, who else did we bring through?
I don't remember. I know there were a few people.
I mean, Eric obviously was there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, those were kind of the big ones that we kind of relied on.
Yeah, and you really wanted to understand oxygen more, and you wanted to kind of add a spiritual understanding and a spiritual connection to what you do, so you could also find ways to improve your methods and find other ways to help people on a more energetic level and a more, because that's what you do. You have an oxygen therapy center, but it's hyperbaric oxygen?
Correct. Yeah, I do hyperbaric oxygen therapy, which is a healing modality where you're in an enclosed space, and in that space we're creating pressure. And the pressure, and this is just pure physics on how it works, the pressure will push oxygen into your body. So it allows the body to pick up many times more oxygen than you normally would just at normal atmospheric pressure. And so, here in the clinic, we see a lot of different conditions because just at a foundational level, oxygen is very important. And so, it'll be anything from people with MS, kids with autism, professional athletes will use it for healing after an injury, people with brain injuries, autoimmune issues, migraine, Lyme disease, Epstein-Barr, it just goes on and on, arthritis, because we're just trying to address that, again, foundational level of like delivering oxygen to the cells. And just as you were talking about earlier, and this is something that we really found out during the readings that we were doing together, of how oxygen is just such a dense form of chi, of that vital life force energy, that connection in this dimension. It's really such an easy way for us to get that energy into our system. And so that's what we try and do here in the clinic. And then, yeah, beyond that, I think I just have a very deep interest in what is this thing called healing. Like, how is this all happening? What's happening? Because beyond the physical of just taking in oxygen, what else is going on in a healing environment? Like, how do we heal? And so I think that's a discussion and a topic that all of us are just continually swimming in that and understanding this reality that we're living in.
Right. Um, having the right amount of oxygen in your system, um, according to Erica, always explains that, it does so much because it affects your mood, it affects how you perceive reality, it affects your physical reality. So having, breathing correctly, making sure that the oxygen levels in the body are balanced is really necessary, not just for the physical, but also for the mental perception and the mental health. And the way that he kind of explained it was that humans nowadays really have a lack of oxygen in the body. And he was talking about how pollution kind of reduces the oxygen level in our foods, in the water that we drink, because that's also another source of getting that life force in, getting that oxygen level in. And so in your clinic, can people just come in to kind of increase the oxygen level, even if they are not sick, even if they don't have any physical complaints? Can they, if they feel like they are energy deprived, if they're just tired all the time, would that also be an option to do?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people will use hyperbaric oxygen therapy just to keep their entire system functioning well, and really use it just as a preventative measure. I would say, probably around 25-30% of the people that come in here will do sessions just to keep everything really well oxygenated, keep the brain oxygenated, because your brain is very oxygen intensive. And so, which is why with hyperbarics we work with so many neurological conditions to flood the brain with oxygen so it can function well. But yeah, absolutely, you can use it just for preventative measures. But more often than not, I think people find hyperbaric oxygen therapy because they're looking for a way to heal a condition. And I think that's what happens. It just tends to be how we function as people, that it's not until our vehicle starts breaking down, we get a flat tire to where we say, okay, well, maybe we need to address this situation. And so that's where, people are getting online, looking up, well, okay, man, I have a brain injury, I have a concussion. How are other people dealing with this? And so, although I do think more and more people are learning to be preventative, seeing, well, okay, Parkinson's runs in my family. What are ways I can kind of keep that at bay? How can I, nourish the body, nourish the brain, nourish this entire system so that that doesn't set in? And so, some people will come across hyperbarics for that as well.
Yeah, and I think, and that's a good point that you pointed out there, is that, when the body does become ill, there has been something spiritually or energetically going on before that happens. Yeah. And so if we can keep ourselves energetically and spiritually in balance, then those illnesses will stay out, will stay away, because it's just, disease is just a way of the body to show us that there's a dis-ease somewhere else, that there's something that we're struggling with, that we're now dealing with, trauma that might not be dealt with, and that can ultimately evolve into an energy that's very negative towards our body. So that's a good thing that you pointed it out. Now, are there different ways of oxygen therapy?
Yeah, definitely. There are different types of oxidative therapies. So, hyperbaric oxygen therapy is one. You also have ozone therapy. And ozone therapy, you'll read about if you look on the internet, some people will do that at home. People will have ozonators in their house, creating ozone. Some people will do it intravenously. Some people will do it through insufflation. So it could be rectal, vaginal, and then you also have hydrogen peroxide therapy as well. So those are kind of the main oxygen therapies that people really utilize. And, I think with every therapy, and anytime someone's dealing with a condition, I think it's just a matter of going out there and feeling what's right for you, and that through that, because you're unfolding this path, and the healing path is such a, it's a journey, and so it's a matter of walking that journey and finding the tools that you need to, clear up, as you're talking about, that dis-ease. And these are all great tools to utilize.
Right. Yeah. It is very important to listen to yourself and to also go and explore for yourself what other options might be, because not every doctor, fully supports alternate healing methods. And I think it's really important to not allow yourself to just get stuck in what that one doctor is saying, but to also find ways to educate yourself in different ways and just give it a try. Now, you've kind of explained it to me how this whole oxygen therapy that you do works, and it kind of feels to me like it can also be very relaxing, because you're being put in this kind of womb-like machine, so I can imagine that it kind of gives you time to just be with yourself, to do some meditation while you're getting this oxygen therapy, and just kind of it's almost like being cocooned away from the world for a bit, and just kind of coming back to your senses again. How do people experience that therapy with you?
Yeah, absolutely. For a lot of people, it can be a very relaxing experience, because you're in there and your body's under pressure. And so, and having done literally thousands of sessions with people, yeah, I see this continually over and over again. People will get in there, and it's really a place you can relax if you let yourself relax. I mean, of course, you have some people who won't let them; they just won't relax. And but if you allow yourself to go, deep into that place, and I think with any therapy, anytime you approach any therapy, it's really good to work with it. Don't just be there at the mercy of whatever modality you're working with, but utilize intention. Let yourself go and go deep with that therapy. And so when people do that and go inside the oxygen chamber, they can really visualize what it is they're wanting this oxygen to do, and the healing that they want to happen, and the change, because it's recreating yourself while you're in there. And the great thing with oxygen therapy, because you're getting that very dense, just creative energy, that chi, it's a wonderful place to go deep and to recreate yourself and to heal. And so, yeah, absolutely. People always come out, and after they're done with their hour, they're like, oh, can you just leave me in there for another hour?
I feel reborn.
Yeah. Some people just love it, and it is funny, because people will come out of the chamber, and it is almost like they're being reborn. It's like they're coming out of this cocoon, and they're going to fly away as butterflies. But yeah, so it's a great therapy, and it's not a therapy for everyone, but for a lot of people, they really find a lot of benefit there. So I'm grateful to be able to provide that.
How about people who are claustrophobic? Is that a problem for them?
I always say that I love working with claustrophobic people. I mean, if
You love a challenge.
I guess partly, yeah, I do love the challenge, but the thing that I enjoy most is, so someone has found me because, and I think as therapists, right, like all practitioners, people find us for whatever reason they need to find us. And obviously we're offering some sort of healing modality, but I think this connection that we all have, as people, there's more there than, just these kind of personas that we put up. So, I'm an oxygen therapist. And so people will find me because of oxygen, but maybe there's more to it. And I find a lot of people who are claustrophobic I enjoy working with them so much because there's this opportunity for them to empower themselves. And so many people think, oh my gosh, there's no way I could do hyperbaric oxygen therapy because I couldn't be in that chamber. And before they even give themselves an opportunity to heal, they put up these walls and say, no, I can't do that. And so I love working with those people to first get them to a point where they say, okay, maybe I can do this. And then to get to a point where we slowly walk them through to where they're like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this. And, oh, this is so much different than I was expecting. And they get to that point to where then they are empowered because it's a very controlled environment, where we have control of the pressure, of the oxygen, of getting them in and out. And so you can just ease them into this space to where they can be doing something that they previously thought was impossible. And, and then there's great benefit to the body. So yeah, I love working with claustrophobic people. It's definitely a passion of mine.
It's just great that, that you, in a way, have the ability also to help these people overcome some of their fears. And, I think that's the beauty of what you do. You don't just work with oxygen, but you work with people. And I feel that you're also an energetic healer. You're not always aware of it, but I feel that the way you address people and the way you comfort them and you give them a sense of hope and a sense of healing just by communicating to them and working with them, that right there is your gift. Is you have compassion for people and you have an understanding of, how or where people's ideas and thoughts come from, so you can then kind of mold them into a more beautiful idea and create these, you just plant seeds in people, in their minds, and then help them with their physical body as well. So that's just, I think, what's most beautiful about what you do and who you are as a person. And that's what really makes me feel very close to you energetically, because I feel like we're doing something completely different, you and me, but the end goal is the same. We want to help people to become mentally and physically healthy, and that kind of creates, for me, an energetic bond. So thank you for doing what you do.
No, thank you for saying that. Yeah, I really enjoy it. And I think so many of us do want to, we want to help people, we want to heal. And whether we're healers or therapists or whatever or not, I think we all are kind of working with each other energetically, whether we know or not. And it's just that look, when you see someone. And I remember that was one thing, I forget if it was Eric or if Siddhartha had said in one of our readings, that, like the healing happens, like as soon as you see someone, you come into contact and energetically your fields just come together. And how does that start creating ease, and comfort within people? Because we're just allowing people to become who they truly are, and it's just a sorting out process. So.
Well, yeah, and I just heard Eric say, when it comes to the healers out there, all the healers among us, it's not just what you do. It's not the procedure that heals a patient. It's how you address that patient. It's how you connect to that patient energetically. That's already half of the healing, And so I think it's very important to understand that everyone who connects with another person, at that moment, you are exchanging energy. There's a natural flow between you going on constantly. We can't see it, but it's there. And so it's so important to keep in mind that right there, when you're talking to that person, you are influencing them. So when you understand that and you become very aware of that with every person that you meet, even if it's just a person you're saying hello to, you have just given him some energy to maybe brighten up his day. When you become very aware of that, and you start to address people with a compassionate and loving and accepting way, no matter who they are, no matter what they say, if you can continuously have that compassion in your heart, then you can heal people just by talking to them, just by chit-chatting, just by having small talk. You can already make a difference in that person's life, you know. And I think that's what we do constantly. We're just not aware of it. And I think once we go home and we see our life's review, we're going to be surprised of how many people we influence without our knowledge. So
Right.
it's good to keep that in mind.
Well, and you know, one way that I really have this, someone succinctly said this, and I just was like, wow, that's amazing. They said, you know, people will heal in your presence. So when you are present with yourself, then it allows an opening for people then to heal, because then, you know, it's that whole thing of being in the now, being fully present. You know, that's where the healing happens, because then things are in alignment.
Yeah, and that's how energy healers work. You see, people think, oh, they have to put their hands on you and zap energy through their hands to fix you. But really, the way that Eric explained it to me, because when Gerald became an energetic healer, you know, I had sessions with Eric to help him understand what he was really doing, because Gerald is a very natural healer. He was doing it, you know, the first day I met him, he was aware that he was doing it. And really what it is the healer's energy is usually at a higher frequency, is vibrating at a higher frequency. And when a patient comes in, they are in pain physically or mentally, so their vibration will be low. Now, the high vibrational energy is always the dominant energy. And so when the healer has a high dominant energy and the patient comes in, it is automatically pulling up that lower energy and pulling it up to a level that is matching the healer, because that's the law of attraction. You know, you can't have that difference. Something needs to budge, and the dominant energy is always the higher, loving, vibrational energy. And so the patient is already, just by communicating to you, is already starting to rise. And when their energy level rises, the natural healing of the body is being stimulated. And so that's part of the healing process. So that's really what goes on. It is really an exchange of energy between two people, and one pulling the other person's energy up just by being present in one room with that person. And that's how sometimes you just, you know, I used to have that at work too. I'd be stocked. I used to be a store clerk. I'd be stocking stuff in the store. People would want to work with me. We always had to work in pairs, and sometimes they would fight. I don't want to work with Emma, which was kind of funny, because I would listen to their stories, give it, you know, and then just tell them what I felt. And a lot of times it would come true. You know, that was before I did anything spiritual. Well, almost 100% times it came true, which is kind of funny. I started to notice that everything I'm saying is coming true. And so people would tell me, just by talking to you makes me just feel good. And that's just because I was raising their frequency, because I was looking at it from a different perspective than they were, you know. And so, yeah, it's really important to understand how the universe works and how energy works. Because if once you figure that out and you apply that to everything you do, life becomes easier, because you know how to request energy to help you. You know how to guide energy to work in your favor. Not control energy, but guide energy. You can ask energy to work for you. It's always, it's who we are. We're energetic beings living in an energetic surrounding. So we need to understand ourselves and our surroundings in order to make the best of it. So wisdom, people, inner wisdom. Understand it, gain that knowledge, and it will help you on your journey. So you were talking about that it's not suitable for everyone. So are there dangers? Are there negative things that could happen with oxygen therapy? Are there certain people who are not allowed to have this?
Well, hyperbaric oxygen therapy is a very safe modality. You know, as long as you're with someone who knows what they're doing. Yeah, because all we're doing is giving the body oxygen. Now, the body can receive too much oxygen, and so, you know, that could lead to oxygen poisoning. But that's very rarely going to happen. So it tends to be a very safe modality, and that's why you'll see young kids with cerebral palsy using it, with, as I was saying before, autism, and then you'll have very old people using it as well. So just make sure that who you're working with understands what they're doing. But for the most part, it is very safe for most people. Um, like one case where, because a lot of cancer patients will use oxygen therapies, with the whole idea being that cancer cells don't like uh, oxygen-rich environments, and also oxygen is going to help boost the immune system. But if someone is working with chemotherapy in the middle of their chemo, will typically wait until they're finished, and then they'll start up the oxygen therapy.
Right.
It tends to be very safe for people.
Yeah, just make sure that that you have a person that you trust, and that you have a person who knows what they're doing, so they can assist you in giving you exactly what you need.
And I was really earlier speaking to, it's not for everyone, in that I just don't have the feeling that all therapies are for everyone. So it's just going back to that thing of, like, you just need to find what it is that works well for you. And I get people calling up all the time interested in hyperbaric therapy, but I might suggest something else that it sounds like might be more up their alley. So it's just that journey of finding what it is you need to heal.
Right. Well, I had a few questions come in, and I had Karen who wanted to really know how raising oxygen levels could help with disease. And I think Eric's answer to that would be because, first of all, the physical body needs oxygen in order for the organs to function properly. But on top of that, we need that life force to maintain our energy levels in a very balanced way. So we can have balance between the spiritual and the physical connection, because we are teaming up with this body right here. And so we need to have good teamwork. We need to have good balance between both in order to keep ourselves healthy. So how would you address this question?
Yeah, well, I think for so many conditions, it is about creating an oxygen-rich environment, because a lot of times where there is disease, it tends to be an oxygen poor environment. So it's anaerobic, and you're not getting good circulation in. And so that's where I was saying earlier that oxygen is just so foundational. And it's as simple as, stop breathing for a minute and a half and, see how you feel, right? You're going to be gasping for air. And that's what's happening on the cellular level. So if you're starving your cells of oxygen, they're going to get very sluggish. If you give them a lot of oxygen, you'll see cells start moving a lot more rapidly, because they're able to produce more energy. And so, with disease, it can help, and obviously we're speaking so broadly to disease, there's so many things that fall in that category, but generally speaking, you from a foundational perspective, you want oxygen, you want hydration, you want good nutrition, and as long as you can have that platform to stand on, then you can start working in other ways to reverse a situation.
Right. And I think another way maybe to say, or to, and this just popped in my head, and I think this is from Raphael. This is from my angel Raphael. And it's got his little signature to it. He was just saying that oxygen feeds soul and body. That's basically it. And we need to feed it. When it becomes starved from oxygen, then it's not going to end well.
It'll
he has
end.
He has a weird way of saying things, but but basically that's really what it is. You stop breathing, it's not going to help your body. And our cells need to breathe, and that's really what we're doing, is we're feeding every cell in the body so it can function and do exactly what it was designed to do in the way that it was designed to do it. So so Blathan wanted to know if it could help with hearing loss. Have you ever had any experiences with that?
Yeah, actually, people who have sudden hearing loss will use hyperbaric oxygen therapy. It's just a circulation thing, and you'll see this with people with macular degeneration with the eyes as well. It's a circulation issue, and
Mm-hmm.
so circulation and inflammation, and bringing down inflammation. So if you were to look online, yeah, you'll see cases where people will have sudden hearing loss, and then they'll do hyperbaric oxygen therapy, and they'll gain that hearing back. So you're just bringing down inflammation and driving oxygen into these areas. Same with macular degeneration. You're driving oxygen into the eye because that blood flow will get blocked off. And so hyperbaric oxygen therapy, it helps to promote angiogenesis, which is the regeneration of, of capillaries into areas of our body. And so you can actually start growing new vessels, get blood flow into areas. So it's that whole thing. If you don't have circulation, those areas are
Mm-hmm.
going to die off. You look at a diabetic person who has poor circulation into the feet, they get a wound on the foot, and the wound won't heal. There's just no blood flow. There's no oxygen flow. And so people will do hyperbaric oxygen therapy to start driving oxygen down into those areas, and then wounds will heal up. So it's all the same approach, drive circulation.
Yeah, so it enhances the self-healing abilities, because the body really can restore itself very quickly. It just kind of gives that healing modality a boost, and it's probably why they also use it for burn victims, people with very
Yeah,
severe burns, to kind of stimulate that regrowth and that closure of the wounds and things like
exactly.
that.
Yeah. After burns, after radiation damage, if someone's had radiation therapy, yeah, after crushing injuries, all sorts of things. It's all exact same principle applies if someone breaks a bone. You're just pushing so much more oxygen into that area so that it can heal faster.
So it speeds up the healing process of things.
Yeah, I mean, so many things, and it happens so consistently that we know what's happening from on a physiological level. Like the body's taking in oxygen, and this might be a good thing to kind of drive home. Like, why is hyperbaric oxygen therapy different from just sitting outside and breathing concentrated oxygen?
Yeah.
So yeah, and people will ask this all the time. So, why can't I just sit here and breathe concentrated oxygen and get the same benefit? Well, what happens is, as we're sitting right here right now, we're breathing in oxygen from that's in the room, and typically there's about 21% oxygen. But we take that oxygen into our body, into our lungs, and our blood's flowing through our lungs. In our red blood cells, we have hemoglobin, whose job is to grab onto oxygen, and then it carries oxygen all throughout our body through our circulation. Well, our hemoglobin's typically pretty loaded up with oxygen. And so we can't actually grab that much more oxygen. So what's happening right now, even as we're breathing in all this oxygen, we can't utilize it all. So we're exhaling a lot of oxygen with every breath. So when you go in and you're under pressure, now as you take all that oxygen in, the pressure will actually start pushing all of this oxygen into your plasma, into the liquid part of your blood, and into your tissues directly. So you're just grabbing onto so much more oxygen than you otherwise would. And that's why, now as your circulation is flowing through, you're dropping off so much more oxygen into the brain, into all parts of your body. And so, yeah, whether it's a burn, a broken foot, whatever it might be, you're just delivering a ton more oxygen than you otherwise could.
Mm-hmm. So do you need a referral from a doctor to come and see you?
Well, in our clinic, so with our medical director, she can create that prescription, and that's how it works here in the States. You do need a prescription to do hyperbaric oxygen therapy, but that doesn't mean necessarily that you have to have a major condition that you're dealing with. It just depends on the clinic that you're working with and how they work. But a lot of times people will have a referral from a doctor who will call up, and then they'll just offer me that prescription that they have.
Okay. Another person, Susan Pearson. Hi, Susan. Thank you for your question. She just wanted to know, she's having issues with remembering things. short term, and she was wondering if it helps with the memory.
Well, potentially it can. You know, how I address all things, I don't speak in absolute terms, I think, with anyone. Um, we don't know what's going on with her, you know, for particular issue. But again, it goes back to the principle, if you look at it, the brain's incredibly oxygen intensive. You know, all those neurons that are up there, they are just feeding off oxygen. And so if you have parts of the brain which, you know, are slowing down and you can deliver more oxygen flow, it can potentially help with memory. And there was a study that was done where they took a group of senior citizens and they did memory testing with them before and after hyperbaric oxygen therapy, and they did find that there was benefit to doing hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So,
Yeah,
so
I remember Eric saying, I had a session with a lady, and she was also having problems with her memory. And she was getting older, and you know, the memory was starting to fade, and she was worried about it. And he said, go dancing. That was his advice. She's like, how can I increase my memory? How can I stop it from getting worse? And he told her, go dancing. And she looked at me like, what? And so he explained that when we dance, we also, you know, inhale and exhale a lot more deeper, and the body's active and things like that. So it was kind of a combination of. But he said that there were different ways that she could increase the oxygen that would help her with the memories, with maintaining a healthy brain. And so he was also giving the advice of introducing more plants into her home, because she lived in a very polluted area where the oxygen level, the natural oxygen level in the air was very low. And then on top of that, she was a lady who was always very stressed. And when we're stressed, we breathe very superficially. We don't breathe deep enough. And so she wasn't getting enough oxygen. And so he's given her the tips to go dancing, to increase plants in her, plants that really make a lot of oxygen. And you can go to NASA. There's a great list there of the plants that they use in this space ship. Or what is it called again? I forgot. The space station. The space station.
Okay. Yeah.
They use plants there to increase the oxygen in the cabins.
Yeah.
You know, and then, you know, making sure you do lots of physical activities. And then the great thing about your therapy is that you can really get it into that foundation of the body, to really give it, it's almost like vitamins. It's like taking extra vitamins for your system, to really get your mental and your physical health up to point. Now, do you ever notice any side effects after people do it? Are there side effects to this?
Well, you know, one thing that we call a side effect is because your ears are dealing with pressure. So what happens, you know, as you go under pressure, it's similar to when you're flying on an airplane, you know, your ears need to pop, right? Because there's a difference in pressure on the outside of your eardrum from the inside. And so we're bringing that pressure in, so your ears need to pop. So some people's ears will pop a little bit after, you know, the session, which is similar to like when you're flying. But some people will detox. Some people that have a lot of heavy metals in their system, like I've had people, they'll have a metallic-y taste in their mouth because their body is trying to then dump these heavy metals. You know, you get people with Lyme disease, and the oxygen will actually start killing off the Lyme, and so people can have what's called a Herxheimer reaction. And, you know, when you have that die-off, then the body needs to rid itself of that. And so you can feel sluggish or a little nauseous, but it's just part of the process. I wouldn't say there are any really harmful side effects. You know, of course, if you go and do too much, which you're not going to in a safe environment, there would be negative side effects. But at the end of the day, it's oxygen. You know, we're just giving the body oxygen, something that it uses to heal naturally.
Yeah, you're just feeding it with what we already, what we need naturally. So,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, overall, this sounds to me like it's a very safe way um, to heal if you do have illnesses. You know, I've heard that they have seen great results with people who have cancer because Eric was talking about how there's so much cancer and fungus, you know, and
mhm,
allergies and things like that. And he was saying that those are the ones that they really thrive in a body that where there is a lack of oxygen. You know, they need, and then when we increase the oxygen, they can't survive anymore.
right.
So, you know, I think a lot of people are suffering from those, and that I've seen people take medicine for, let's say, certain fungus that they can't get rid of, and it's so toxic. You know, like if you look at the side effects, it's worse than the fungus. You
Yeah,
know, so I'm like, you know, I don't know about this. So, you know, oxygen would be a great natural way to kind of suppress that or to eliminate that.
yeah, and you're raising energy levels, you know, and like really, if you look at things like cancer, and you know, let's just speak about cancer, it's a very low energy level, right? That the cancer is vibrating at. And so, you know, yeah, why do you want to introduce more oxygen, which is very high energy into the system because you're trying to bring up these energy levels? You know,
Mhm.
why do you want to go laugh and have fun? Because you want to raise your energy so that you can, as you were saying earlier, the higher energy level is typically going to take over. You know,
Mhm.
so you want to create that resonance in your body to bring everything up.
Yeah. So, how can people reach you? How can people, if they have any questions in regards to oxygen therapy, how can they contact you?
So people can find me my website, which I'm sure you'll put below the
Mhm.
video here, but it's o2underpressure.com. I'm located in Los Angeles, California, and yeah, people can go on my website and find my number and email if they have any questions. And you know, even if you're not in Los Angeles and just have questions about hyperbarics and stuff, you know, feel free to call. I love talking about hyperbarics. I mean, it's what I do. I really enjoy kind of the education process because a lot of people don't know what hyperbarics is. And so I'm happy to discuss anything with people over the phone or via email. And yeah, so go on there. You can find me. And yeah,
Give him a call. Well, the way that Eric always kind of shows it to me is that as we progress, as humanity moves into the future, therapies like this are just going to take over the traditional medicine that we have now. So who knows where we're going? But they're just making me feel like those kind of therapies, herbal therapies, things like that. That's what we're really going to go back to over time, because I think nature is all we need to heal, really. It's all there, it's all present to keep us healthy and to keep us strong and to help us if something goes off. um, so I think that's where we need to put our focus on, is to find natural ways to heal and to stay healthy.
yeah, yeah, just to create that natural resonance that is there. And that's why, yeah, a lot of the herbs, the natural remedies, they're just bringing us back into connection with ourselves. And so,
Right.
yeah, yeah, I agree. I think that's the direction we're heading. So we
Yep.
have tons of tools out there. It's just finding the tools that we want to use.
Right. And don't allow yourself to be kind of restricted by other people's thoughts, but follow your heart. Follow your heart. If you feel like, no, there's got to be more than just this, what you're telling me, there's got to be something out there. I've seen people heal from amazing things. I saw a girl who had cancer in her heart. She was 17 years old. They removed the cancer, something they had never seen before. It was inside her heart. They removed it somehow miraculously. She did chemo, destroyed her liver. She was on the waiting list to have her liver transplant. So she went to a lady who works with herbs and anything natural. She got a tea from her, all different kinds of herbs and vegetables and all kinds of things in there. Things that we would call weeds were in there. And the doctor was like, yeah, your liver's destroyed. You can't bring it back to life. She did the tea for several months while she was waiting for a liver. And on her last checkup, the liver has completely restored itself.
Wow.
She no longer needs a transplant. The doctor doesn't know what to say about it. He's just flabbergasted. And so that's what natural herbal teas can do. But you need to go to a person who knows what they're doing, puts it all together for you, and it can save lives. So think about it, people. Nature has everything we need to heal. So all you need to do is we need to do some research, and we need to be brave enough to step away from what we feel is, oh no, we need to go to medicine. We need to go to this. We need to, be brave enough to dive into something unfamiliar and have faith. That's my advice to everyone. Well, Bryan, thank you. This was lovely.
Thank you for having me, Emma. It's good talking to you, as always.
No, thank you. And to everyone out there, don't be afraid to reach out to Bryan. Don't be afraid to reach out to me. I will put all the information at the end of the video as well. And we'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye.